What's going on? Facebook Live, YouTube, boys and girls of the podcast. Mr. Randall, how you doing, sir? Oh, your mic is muted, bro.
I didn't. Okay. Yeah, I did that myself because when we were going to the intro, it didn't click. I was like, well, I should probably do this so I don't make a stupid noise while the intro's playing.
I was like, oh, great. Like, now we have technical issues. We haven't had those in a hot minute.
I was going to sign the whole time, even though I don't really know how to. We'll just let people figure it out.
Yeah, it'll work. It'll work. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a hot minute. We missed last week. I didn't even get a chance to ask you, dude. How was Vegas? Did you go to the Strip or no?
Yeah, we did. We, of course, that wasn't like a fun trip. We did do some gambling and whatnot. I will tell you, I'm not impressed because I lost like $80 and that was all I needed to do.
$80.
Well, we were doing the slot machines and stuff, and I don't know. The whole mindset behind doing that.
Slot machines is the worst edge in the casino.
I know, but like Janine,
I thought I've told you. I thought I've taught you better than that.
Well, Janine won money, and like Kathy won money, and like Glenn won some. And I'm like, dude, I have never wanted to gamble, so I didn't care. I was like, all right, whatever, man. And they're coming around with free drinks, and I'm just like, I just want to leave.
That's hilarious.
Nah, it wasn't bad though. We actually made time to go out to Red Rock as well because
nice.
Glenn lives really close there.
Nice.
Yeah, so we saw the sunset one night. Yeah, there's a lot of snow up there too. We were at like 8,000 feet, and there was pretty good amount of snow. Like, and I was in a 2-wheel drive truck, and I'm like, this is not going to be good. I was like, we should leave. As soon as it started getting dark, dude, it was getting icy. I was like, all right, we're leaving.
Yeah, there's a big archery shoot going on there right now, and our one sales guy's out there from Pine Ridge, and he was saying earlier in the week it snowed, and I was just like, oh,
yep,
it's cold in Vegas.
It's a lot of snow up there, man. Yeah, it was the same temperature as it was here in Tennessee while we were out there.
Yeah. He was saying he texted me earlier today. He said there's 4,000 people competing in that archery event. I was like, wow. But no, good stuff, man. I'm glad you didn't have to call me for bail money. So that means you stayed out of trouble. You were a good boy.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it wouldn't work.
No, that's good stuff, man. Good stuff. I was at the Chicago Fishing Show, so that's why we didn't have an episode last week. So we apologize. I got straight off of work, went straight to the show. Want to just say thank you to everybody that stopped by and chatted. There were so many of you. I don't remember all the names, so I apologize. But met a lot of cool people, a lot of listeners and stuff like that. The one dude I met, he's I'm so bad at this, either a UPS or a FedEx driver. And he says like he drives around all day just listening to podcasts, and he's always got Paddle and Fin on, Serious Angler and stuff like that. So shout out to that dude. He may come out and we may rig up his kayak and stuff like that and do a day of fishing. So hope that happens. So I give him my phone number. You better call me, bro. I'm calling you out right now.
No pressure.
It's a good thing I don't remember your name. But we got a pretty cool guest in the house tonight, Jeremy Rathbun. As you guys saw from the title, kayak fishing saved my life. And Jeremy is a Navy vet, and he struggled with PTSD, bipolar, things like that. And he brings out a lot of light to these two things, and how kayak fishing has pretty much helped heal him in a way, or not necessarily heal, but what's the word I'm looking for, Jay?
I mean, let's say like ease the symptoms or like the day-to-day feelings. It's
right.
Or even, even like, going into the future and being able to learn how to cope with
some
of those
coping mechanism. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, I was
So
working it in there.
yeah, it's a cool story, man. And I know Jeremy has fished our noobs tournament a bunch of times. He's listened to the podcast for a long time. So it's super cool. And he had reached out, sent us an email, sent us the story. I read it and I was like, dude, we need to get you on a podcast. And he was like, this will be my first podcast, bro, but I'm in. So super excited to have him joining us tonight, share his story and all that good stuff. Obviously it's not easy talking about this stuff, but like that's one of his goals is, bringing this to the forefront and, sharing with others like what he's dealt with and how it's kayak fishing has helped him and things like that. So we got Brock Howell in the house. I hope you're doing well, brother. I know Brock's family has been dealing with some family things, and thoughts and prayers out to you guys, man. I hope you're doing well, brother. Facebook user says hi, guys. Hello,
Hi,
Facebook.
Facebook user. There's a lot of people named that. It's so weird.
Dude. It's like John Smith.
What is going on?
Let's get this dude in here.
Yeah, get him in here.
Let's get Jeremy Rathbun in the house. His very first ever podcast experience. We're building this up. I'm just trying to put him on edge. I see him grinning down there.
He's like,
all right, when's he gonna do it?
We should have had some Rocky music or something behind this, Well, we know we're not going to get copyrighted with that rendition.
Welcome to the show, brother. It's good to have you in the house tonight. I hope that introduction was good for you, and
that was awesome.
No, man. We appreciate you being here tonight and sharing your story. Like I know you heard everything we just said, man, but and we were talking, before we went live and all that stuff, man. And I know it's like, it wasn't really an easy thing to talk about. And you said it took some time to kind of put this all on paper and things like that. So let's just kind of like back up from all of that. Let's get a little background on you. You know how the show goes. So like, where are you from? First of all, you're a Navy vet. So thank you for your service.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And why don't you kind of back us up to like where this all started, and then we'll kind of work our way through present day and the actual story itself and all that good stuff, man.
Yeah. So back in 2005, when I got out of the Navy, I really didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And I started to have some real big issues. And I didn't know I was having the issues, and I didn't know how they were really affecting my life the way they were. So I just ignored it. And which, that's probably one of the worst things I did. But if it wasn't for, the decisions I made back then, I wouldn't be where I am today. But so I just kind of drifted around for a while. I'd go from job to job and not really find a comfortable place for me to be. And so I, when I finally did decide that I was going to get some help, that's kind of what really kicked everything off for me, is when I finally made that decision that, I might need some help.
So like what made you kind of finally like throw your hands up and be like, I surrender, I'm done, I need to go talk to somebody?
Waking up in the hospital and my family telling me that and seeing the amount of family I had there, because the doctors had told them that you guys need to prepare. We don't think he's going to make it, because I had tried to overdose on my medication. So that was kind of the moment where I'm like, okay, if it was a very serious attempt, and that really kind of kicked me in the seat of my pants to, I need some help.
Yeah, no, it's, thank God you're still here, man. And I mean, I don't know if you're a religious person or if somebody out there is a religious person, but like, I don't know, man. I'm a firm believer in a higher power, and you know, things happen for a reason, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
you know, I think it, you know, as I've read your complete story that you've sent me, it's like, you know, not that part right there is in that story. And I remember kind of sitting back thinking like, um, you know, this is it, man. Like this dude came back from this, and this is like one of his purposes in life now, you know, other
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
all the other things you got going in your life, you know, you're a family man, things like that. But, you know, like, you know, it was almost like you were meant to go through all that so you can be
Hmm.
here and help share your story and help others, right?
Yeah. Even back then, when I started to get the help, I started to believe, okay, I'm still here, so I can do something. I didn't know what it was, and I did, I tried multiple things, and what I thought, would help, and, for the reason that I was here.
Sure.
And I mean, honestly, it wasn't until, I started kayak fishing that I'm like, okay, this is
Yeah.
what it is.
Nice, nice. So, before we jump into the kayak fishing part, like if there's somebody out there listening either live on the podcast later, whatever it may be, and they're sitting there thinking to themselves like, I'm almost to where he was. Like, what is the best way to kind of reach out to somebody, or who should they go reach out to get some help? And I think that's an important thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of guys that were like, so to speak, in your situation,
Hmm.
you know, you hear it so many times, like, I didn't know where to go, you know?
So, one of the great things that has come in the past year is the Suicide National Hotline. Um, and I believe that's 988.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but
I'll look it up.
um,
I'll look it up.
yeah.
I'll
So
fact check it.
you got
Uh,
the, National Suicide Hotline. And then, you can, there's always somebody for, for anybody to reach out to. I mean, a lot of people, especially when they're in that place, they don't realize how many people will help them if they just ask. And that's probably one of the hardest things, is just asking,
right.
and, and then accepting the help after you ask for it.
Yeah, so you were correct. It is 988, and you could either call or text that number.
Yep.
So that's super, super nice. That's out there. You know, it's like we got 911, 411,
Yep.
711, all that good stuff, man. It's like you know, why not? And what's the worst that's gonna happen, right? You're gonna talk to somebody.
Exactly. I mean, and I think there's a huge stigma too, that if somebody asks for help, it makes them a weak person, or people are going to look at them different. And, in my opinion, if you're asking for help, people should look at you different. They should look at you that, you're being brave. You're
Yeah.
admitting, hey, I can't do this by myself.
Right.
And, should, everybody should be there for, if somebody needs help.
I love that, dude. I love that you're being brave, stepping up, and
Yeah.
you know, just facing your problems head on rather than hiding and letting it tear you up and eat you alive.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. So what, you know, you wake up in the hospital, you realize like, what am I doing? Get some help. When does kayak fishing come into that?
About 4.5 years
Okay.
ago. I honestly, I just started realizing how peaceful it was just fishing from the bank.
Sure.
And it, I was really enjoying myself, but it got to the point to where, I was either having to carry all my stuff a long distance to get to a decent spot, or I would find a decent spot and let everybody know about that spot. So I come back and it's like, well, this isn't good because everybody's here now and can't
Sure.
fish this spot. So I kind of looked into getting a boat, and I'm like, boats are expensive.
Dude,
So
hold on. I got to stop you right there. Boats are expensive. Absolutely ridiculous. Like at the boat show this past weekend, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off or
no.
your story. Everybody knows I'm notorious for this. But at the boat show, right across the aisle from us, there was a 21-foot Vexus, and they were asking 130 grand. And on the sticker, it said, for a very low payment of $719 a month, and then you read the fine print, that was over 20 years. I was like,
I was gonna say, dude,
who does that, dude?
I know that has always dumbfounded me because, like, you see like these beautiful, like, boats, and they spent some money on those things, and you're like, where does one get that kind of money? Or at least,
yeah.
I mean, I know it's like, they have these really long loans, but my Lord, dude, like 100 grand for a boat.
Well, at the same time, I had some dude looking at my kayak, and granted, we had it like fully rigged out with like 2 motors and stuff on it, and I had to like sit there and explain to people, you never use 2 motors, right? Like we just did it for display purposes to show you what you could do. And some dude's like, I got that question a lot. It was like, okay, what is it fully loaded like this out the door? And I think I calculated it out to be like 8 grand, right?
Yeah.
And the guy's like, might as well buy a boat. And I go, yeah, that boat right there is 120 grand.
Yep.
Go ahead. That won't even cover the 20% down that you need to buy that.
You know what you're getting into too. Like, I mean, it's, in this day and age, from what you're saying, I mean, we're looking for maybe a tracker from the 90s, right. Pay like 3,500. That sounds great. Yeah. Let's go that route.
All right. Back to the story. To the story. I'm sorry, man. I got sidetracked there, and I just had to bring that up because you mentioned it.
No, and it's funny because when I started fishing from, when I got my first kayak and I started fishing from the kayak, I really was able to see the potential. It's like, I can get into places where boats can't. Sure. I don't have to go to a boat ramp. I can go fish almost wherever I want. And having that kind of freedom really kind of boosted my morale inside of me, because I was able to, if I was having a bad day and I wanted to go fish, I didn't have to go to a lake where there was a boat ramp and there was going to be a bunch of people. I could go to a small, one of our small state fishing lakes here where I knew there wouldn't be anybody. I could just be out there by myself, with my thoughts, like I was when I was bank fishing.
And you're in Texas, right?
Kansas.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought you were in Texas.
Yeah, close, but
I wish I was in Texas. They have better fishing down there.
I'm thinking in Nebraska, but I think Kansas is the same way, where you got like a bunch of these smaller like lakes right along the interstate, right? Like,
is that
Kansas?
Yeah, we do.
Too? Yeah. Yeah. I've always like driving to Colorado. I've always seen them, and I'm like, I bet there's some nice fish in there.
Some of them do.
Yeah, some of them do. Well, you guys got big deer out in Kansas, so we'll have to talk about that at a later date and time. But so you get in the kayak, man. Like, do you think it was like the independence feeling, like, the fact that you were out there alone in this small boat, like the intimacy is what kind of boosted your morale, so to speak?
Yeah, being, I guess, a lot closer to the water and feeling like I'm more, I guess, more in tune, with my fishing, instead of just, speeding across the lake in a boat. And,
let me ask you this, right? Because like I've noticed this personally with myself when I'm out fishing, especially in a kayak. You got that solo aspect, and sometimes you know, you were, oh, dude, hold on. Harold Anderson's in the chat. He said, "What's up, man?" Dude, that's my dude. That's the delivery dude I was talking about. See, now I got his name. I called you out at the beginning of the show, bro. We're going to freaking get your boat rigged up and we're going to go out fishing. You better hit me up. You got my number. So what's up, man? It was good to meet you too. But, sorry, squirrel. You know, like I've noticed when I'm out fishing in my kayak, right? Like, you know, the everyday hustle and bustle, right? We're always like, thinking about, all right, when I get home, I got to do this, or I'm at work and I got to get this, and this accomplished. And, you know, driving to the lake, you're thinking about all these life things. And then you get out on the water, all that crap goes away and you're just in on fishing.
Yeah, it really does. And this, you know, that kind of leads me to a little bit of a funny story. I had a real problem of going out to the lake and being out there, you know, 6-8 hours. And I get home and my wife is like, "Where have you been?" And I'm like, "I lost track of time." She's like, "There's no way." Well, I took her out one time on her kayak and we were out there for a good 6 hours. And when we finally went back, she's like, "Yeah, that didn't seem like 6 hours. I completely understand now." And, you know, so yeah, I do. I mean, I try to just forget about everything that is going on and just, you know, all I try to worry about is what are the fish biting on?
Sure.
How can I catch a fish?
Sure. No, totally get it, man. Harold says, "Sorry to interrupt, but I had to make a shout out to you and the show, and I'm glad I tuned in. I just got off work." No worries, dude. We're glad you are here, brother. And you did not interrupt. That's part of the live show, man. We love it when people drop in the comments. We had a couple great comments too, man. Brandon Grubbs says, "I feel more connected to nature with my kayak over a boat." Facebook user says, "It is so peaceful out on the water. I was on the original Noobs podcast a few years ago." And yeah, man, it's, you know, that's part of it, man. It's I've noticed that, and I've noticed it too. Like, I mean, everybody's gonna make fun of me, but I've spent a little more time in an actual boat lately. But even like I've been taking a lot of people out fishing, showing them like different ways to fish and stuff like that. And it's the same way, man. I'm just so focused on, you know, either me catching fish or taking in the surroundings. Like I've always tried to be good about that, or be like focused on putting other people on fish, man. Cause I love nothing more than seeing big smiles on faces. You know, it's just, I've caught a million fish in my lifetime. Like, it might as well enjoy somebody else doing it, you know, is the way I look at it. So, but no, it's super. Well, so we didn't even hit this yet, man. What kind of kayak are you in?
Yeah. So I am in a Hobie Outback.
All right. Interview's over, bro.
Yep. Sorry. He said the H word.
I'm just kidding. We don't care what kind of boat you're in, man. It's and we've always said that, right? And it's just you could be in $100 Pelican or a freaking decked out Hobie, man. It doesn't matter as long as you're on the water, getting out there, getting after it, you know?
Yeah, I started off in just a $700 fishing kayak, and you know, I definitely put way more into it than the kayak was worth. But
sure,
you know, it got me out on the water, and that was the important thing. It got me out on the water.
Right on, man. Right on. No, that is the important thing, right? Like you said, you struggled like bank fishing because either like spot was blown out, couldn't find a good spot. Now you have that independence, and you can get away from the big boats and all that good stuff.
You can,
It's super, super nice. Super nice.
Yeah, especially with that accessibility of a kayak. I mean, you can get, I mean, especially with rivers. I think a lot of rivers are always overlooked, and even if you're not fishing super hard, if you just, you know, cruise down a river and just kind of enjoy the time, I mean, you're gonna see, you know, deer, beavers, and I mean, just all kinds of stuff. You know, I don't know. I mean, to me, like rivers are super calming as long as there's not whitewater. But but I mean,
or
it's like
whitewater park. You know?
Yeah, that's different. That was self-inflicted. But I mean, you know, just having something like, or like, you know, just I think that whole running water, aspect, and just the slow moving water, just kind of slows things down. And,
I had a lot of conversations this past weekend about, fishing local rivers here, and how a lot of guys were like, I just didn't even know this was here, and what a
yep.
cool float trip. And, we thought it'd take 3 hours, but we ended up taking like 8. But it was like one of the coolest, kayak fishing trips we've ever done. But
Yeah.
no, I totally get it, man. So getting back to the story, man.
Mhm.
So you get in a kayak, you kind of figure some things out and stuff like that. And I know in your story too, you said you had some mentors and things like
Yeah.
that. Let's kind of like touch on that a little bit, man.
Yeah. So, before I decided I was going to purchase a kayak, I had met a guy through email who owned a kayak company. And he, after he's a Army veteran, and after talking with him and just kind of letting him hear my story and getting advice from him, he really encouraged me to volunteer with an organization called Heroes on the Water. And, their main goal is to get veterans, first responders, police officers, to kind of get them out on the water, and whether it's kayak fishing or just kayaking, and, kind of let them de-stress from everything, and, their events, they're all day events that they usually hold, but they're just one day.
Sure.
And I could definitely, when I started volunteering with them, I saw the benefit I was getting just by being out on the water, and at the time I wasn't fishing from the kayak with them because, I was more focused on helping them. But I could see the benefit of, hey, I'm out here paddling around. I'm seeing everybody else fishing. I'm seeing the smiles. And, that kind of really helped me realize, okay, there is something to this kayak fishing, and I should probably really start looking into
Capitalizing on it.
it,
Yeah.
and, so I had him who got me involved with Heroes on the Water, and they were very great to me. And then meeting the local kayak anglers and running into somebody that I thought, that at the time, I had not realized that I had met him, like 2 or 3 years prior.
Sure.
And, and just, running into these people and seeing how helpful everybody is, that really spoke to me. And it's like, these are really good people. They're willing to help me. And what can I do for them? And I'm sorry. I really don't know what I was trying to say there, but
No, you're good, man. I feel where you're going, man. Like, they've helped you a ton. How can you repay that? And
right.
and not
Yeah.
only that, but like continue to work off of each other and help your guys' mental health, so to speak,
Mhm.
on both ends, man. It's kind of a beautiful thing. And it's like, I know Jake can attest to this too. Like, we've had a lot of different veterans organizations on the show here, as well as like other segments on Paddle and Fin, man. And just seeing and hearing some of the stories about the healing power behind, other veterans working together, being together, getting out on the water, and, taking that stuff that's built up over the years and just kind of, I think it was Clay Ragsdale from down in Georgia said, he felt like it was a weight lifted off his shoulders. And and he, started their organization down there, and just kept it going. And they do like little smaller groups and, intimate settings and things like that. But you got a fan in the house, brother. Chris Cabral or Cabral. says, "Hey, Justin." So, or Justin, Jeremy. I don't know who he's talking to.
I don't. Yeah, I don't. Maybe he's talking
yeah.
to somebody in the comments.
That threw me off. Sorry.
I'm assuming he's gonna.
I was
that out
assuming he
now.
said Jeremy, or was assuming he was talking to Jeremy. Maybe there is somebody in the chat.
Yes,
I have
Chris,
no
we
idea.
want an explanation.
Yeah.
ASAP.
I don't know. But I mean, to get back to your point, man, it's so cool to see, you know, like, and granted, like, I've never been in the military. I was a big pussy, and I thought about signing up after 9/11, but you know, you have that brotherhood in whatever military branch you're in, right? And then you get out, and like that goes away.
It does.
And I think, like, now that, you know, you're seeing some of these veterans coming together on these organizations, you know, they're you know, feeling that sense of camaraderie and brotherhood like they felt in the military, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, would you feel that's like kind of justified there on that thought process?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's probably one of the biggest, you know, and I can't speak for everybody that's served, but
sure,
the most common thing I have seen is that is the biggest thing that I think veterans miss, is that camaraderie and having that mission.
Yeah.
And, you know, the kayak fishing, you know, there's veterans all throughout it. And that's the nice thing, is I get to meet these other veterans and I get to do stuff with them. So I get the camaraderie from them, but it's also shown me, hey, I can have that same thing with people who never served, you know.
Sure.
Which, you know, is a really big thing for any veteran, is to be able to have that, because that's like the hardest part of getting out, is readjusting to civilian life and not having that stuff anymore, and having that, you know, with people who, you know, haven't served or anything, you know, just regular civilians. It's really nice to be able to experience that.
Right on. Makes sense. Chris was talking to Justin Maupin in the chat room. So there you go, man. Got you guys both shout outs because I screwed up. So no, I mean, I've heard that so many times, dude. You know exactly what you stated, like readjusting to civilian life after the military, and it makes sense. You know, it's like you know, your kayak family becomes your military family, or replaces your military family, so to speak. So Chris says most of his club in San Diego are in the military, so that's cool, man. Thank you guys for your service very much. We support you guys, man. It's interesting, man, like, because I'm on the civilian side, right? And I don't understand, I can't even begin to understand, you know, some of the things that you guys have experienced, been through, dealt with, things like that, you know. And it's like, that's why I try to sit back and listen to, you know, what you know, military servicemen and women have gone through, so I could try to understand, but I'll never be able to relate 100%, you know.
Right.
But you know, I've fished with some vets before, you know, and you know, it's, you know, hearing the stories and things like that, man, it's pretty powerful.
I mean, I've watched it from the outside.
Yep.
I mean, you know, one of my best buds came back from the, you know, serving in Somalia and other places, and when he came back, he was jacked up for a while. He drank a lot, like a lot.
Yeah.
Like a lot. Like all hours of the day, a lot.
Yeah.
Even when I had beer, when he would run out, he would drink my beer. You know, and I was getting like IPAs then, and he was more of like the Budweiser guy. Yeah. I mean, he would just, you know, I mean, he would be zooted like every day, man. I mean, it was pretty crazy. And it went for a while, because I mean, because when he came back, I'm not sure what he was going through, because he still never really told me, but I heard some of the stories he saw. You know, I mean, he saw his truck blow up in front of him that he was supposed to be driving.
Yeah.
I mean, it was stuff like that. You know, it's like, just he was a Mike 88 for a while, which is like a truck driver. And yeah, he said one day he had to switch his truck, and he watched the truck blow up in front. He ran over an IED, and that was one he was supposed to be in. You know, so I mean, you could see all kinds of weird, you know, stuff happen. And But yeah, it took him like a good year or so to kind of unwind.
Yeah.
I'm not certain on what like the VA offers. I'm sure there's some programs to some extent, but I don't think it really. It seems to me that the soldiers and the Marines and everybody that comes back is just kind of forgotten in a way, just kind of like sent into civilian life without any buffer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely feel that way when I got out. And honestly, I don't know more recently, if it's gotten better, but it's, I think I got a 30-minute class when I was leaving about the VA, and that was it, and it took me a year, 2 years to finally realize, hey, I can go to the VA instead of paying for some of this stuff. The VA can help me with it.
Yep.
And I think the other big thing is it is easier to self-medicate than it is for a veteran to go ask for help, because I know when I was in, it was drilled into you. If you're going and asking for help, there's something wrong with you. You're weak. And it took, a good decade for that to finally get out of my head and realize that it is okay to ask for that.
Well, I can see that, man, right? Because like you're in the military, you're a freaking badass. You know what I mean? And like you've been this badass, and you're running around in war zone or stationed wherever, this and that, and you've been trained to face war. You know what I mean? And then you get back home, and it's like now you gotta readjust and be somebody different than what they taught you to be.
Yeah. So I'll give you a little bit of an example. So like my job in the Navy, I was on submarines, and being on a submarine, everybody on the sub has at minimum a secret clearance.
Yeah.
Going in and seeking mental health help, that can get your clearance pulled.
Right.
So it is easier to hide it, especially if you really like your job.
Right.
And if you hide it and you're not going to seek that help, eventually it will catch up to you, and you have to leave the military at some point in time. Mm-hmm. And, when you leave the military, if you haven't asked for any help and you haven't, sought out any help, all those problems are going to just come flooding out, because you are not going to be able to adjust to civilian life, because things are completely different once you leave.
For sure.
And the stuff you could get away with in the military just does not fly anymore.
Right.
So, so then you add that on top of the issues you're dealing with from the military, and it's like, where do you begin? And that, and I think that really hinders a lot of vets from seeking help, because like, I don't even know where to begin. Why should I get help? The military didn't care. The VA doesn't care.
Right.
So.
Or what kind of help am I going to get? Because I mean, I know Brian's going to say that in a second, but I even heard stories of like commonly it seemed like they would, no matter what your situation was, they all kind of treat you guys the same in the sense of, it's kind of like when you guys are hurt. To any way, they're just like, here, just take some ibuprofen.
Yeah. Ibuprofen, drink water.
Yeah, it's ibuprofen like across the board for like everything.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, like I said, my buddy could chew those things like they were
right.
Because when he was in Afghanistan, like you didn't have a lot of water.
Yeah.
He would just chew them, and you're like, how do you do that? And it's like, but I mean, I think it's still like mental health is still developing. They still don't know the answers. The doctors are still trying to figure this stuff out.
Right.
They really are.
And like you got to think of too, like your we'll get to Harold's thing in a second. Your environment and what you eat, and so like whatever energy you're taking in or whatever you're surrounded with, and then the crap we eat, I know everybody's got anxiety to some degree, and some people got it through the roof, and that could be misdiagnosed, and that could drive you insane and make you think things, and you know what I mean? It's like there's just all those weird crap going on, and they're still trying to figure out. Meanwhile, a lot of you guys are out there suffering because you don't know who to ask, for help. I mean, there's still a lot of people out there just in general who just think it's normal,
Right.
whatever is going on inside your head and everything. And, and it's just, man, I just really wish that they would take this, this shit more seriously and really pay attention to it instead of just brushing everybody off. You know what I mean? It just seems like they want to take you guys in as fast as they can, process you, put you through whatever the hell they want. And then when they're done with you, they're done with you.
Yeah.
Which is bullshit.
Yeah.
Like 100%. I'll just fucking say that right
and who's
now.
going to want to
Pisses
join
me
the
off,
military? And I was in 3 years of ROTC. From Marine Corps. I almost went. But it's, not for these reasons, but like, I never went in, but this kind of stuff will discourage people, from because like, what's the point? Like they make it sound like they're going to take care of you and they don't, and it depends where you're at. I heard
it really
the,
does.
The
That's
VAs
the
are
other
all
thing.
different.
They are. I mean, there's like no standardized care across the board. Like I know for me in my area, you got one VA that is really good with mental health, but sucks on the medical side. And then, an hour away, you got a VA that is really good with on the medical side, but sucks on the mental health side.
Sure.
So, it's, and then vets, they pass the stories around, they're like, yeah, I had this issue, or, they denied me for this when they shouldn't have.
Yep.
And, note that the VA has really discouraged a lot of people, from wanting to get help, I think, because there's no consistency. And, when a vet does have an issue, it's easier for the VA to ignore it instead of just taking care of the issue or addressing it and saying, yeah, we messed up. We're sorry. Let's get you taken care of.
So I want to address. Oh, go ahead and finish.
No, go ahead.
I was just I wanted to address what Harold dropped in here, because I'm wondering if maybe you have some advice or some suggestions or something like that. But he says his nephew is actually in San Diego right now, and he is in the Marines out there right now. But what he's been noticing is that when he does have free time, he's been out drinking a lot, and we're all surprised and kind of worried because sometimes he calls drunk, but he just keeps trying to talk to him as much as he can because he feels he is by himself out there with no family around.
And I think that's important that he keeps talking to him and encouraging him, that, hey, if you do need help, don't be afraid to seek it. Right. Even, no matter what anybody in his command would think, don't be afraid. Sure. And just be there to keep talking.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's really important too, is having people that you can talk to.
Right on,
but,
man.
And again, I think it, when you think about, in his situation, so he's in, I don't know if he's in boot camp or not, but obviously he's on the base. The drinking aspect is kind of promoted because if you really think about it, most of these guys are young, and like, when you're, how it is when we were young and dumb, like we were all drinking like idiots too, to some degree. And, but like in that environment, it's a very macho, testosterone driven, it's guys, you're going out drinking, you're doing your thing. And the problem is though, that sets in, that'll set in like some bad habits maybe down the road.
It could. Yeah, absolutely.
And depending on how they're dealing with whatever, like loneliness or whatever, who knows like how deep you'll go down the rabbit hole on that. But, I mean, we all know the military and drinking go like hand in hand. I mean, in your case, I don't know what it was like on a submarine, but like guys who were in Afghanistan, like, even though you're not supposed to have that stuff in Afghanistan, like they had access, and then, other places like that. So like, and that's another thing, like where you're based, because those guys who are on bases, what else are you going to do? You're going to work out. You're going to do your 12, 13, 17-hour shift. You're going to drink some booze. You're going to sleep and repeat. It's just, it just keeps going and going,
Yeah. I remember when I got out of boot camp and I got out of school and everything and hit my actual duty station, as soon as I got to the barracks, one of the guys from my sub grabs me and says, "Hey, come with me," and hands me a beer.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's like 18 years old. I'm like, hey, this is awesome.
Yeah. Harold said, "Thank you for the advice. He is
Absolutely.
serving his 4 years, and he's only on the first year." Naughty Fish in the house. What's up, pimps? What's up, brother? Shannon Copeland said, "Good on you for getting this out in the open to help others." She said, "See you on the water soon."
Absolutely.
And,
I fish with Shannon all the time.
That's awesome.
So
that's awesome. Naughty Fish says, "Bro, we called the bars on base hoochies." Hooches, and that was a ritual. I'm sure we drink daily, a stigma. He said,
"It's probably hoochies."
I mean, hooches.
Hooches. Yeah, hooches.
Yeah, he just retired. Actually, he did 20 years. 20 years. He just
retired
this year. He was up in, if my memory serves me correct, I believe he was in Virginia. If my memory serves me correct, I could be 100% wrong. So if I am wrong, he will correct me, and I apologize. I'm bad at remembering things. But nah, man, it's like everybody's chiming in, man. Like, good for you for getting this out there, getting your story out there, things like that, man. I think you're seeing it more and more. I will say, like, if you look back 20 years ago, like mental health, what was that? You know what I mean? It just meant,
oh boy,
it was a stigma, right? Like, there's
if a vet mentioned they had PTSD, it was like they were almost blacklisted from everything.
Oh, yeah.
They were so worried about if a vet mentioned that they have PTSD, oh, that vet's gonna come and do something to us, he's gonna harm us, he's crazy. And that's not the case. I mean,
Naughty Fish said he did 12 years in Okinawa, Japan, 4 in Virginia, and 2 in Texas. So I want to know, when you were in Okinawa, did you see Miyagi-san? Sorry, I had to throw that in there. Karate Kid reference. I've been watching Karate Kid, bro. Cobra Kai. Netflix. Check it out. But come on, man. Got to throw some comedy in there. He said, as a jumper or flying status, if we had PTSD or medical issues, we would be denied fly status.
Yep.
Like,
that's the same way, I know when I was processing out, because I was getting a medical discharge, they wanted to take away my warfare pin because I wasn't qualified to be on submarines anymore. And luckily, the lady that was processing me, she knew how hard you had to work for that warfare pin. So she just ripped the paper up. But yeah, I mean, no, they don't mess around. I mean, it's almost like they'll get you in, you'll get into your job. And then once you get into your job, it's like, okay, now we have all these other requirements that you have to maintain to be able to keep that job. So people, I mean, they'll hide and, they'll hide what's going on with them. They'll self-medicate. They'll do whatever they can to stay in that job, especially if they really like it.
And I think what you realize is you're expendable, just like anybody else at any other job. It's like, okay, well, you're not working out. Well, we're going to find someone else.
Yeah. And it's very easy. I mean,
so let me ask you this, and, I'm just spitballing here, right? Like, do you think the solution is, in the military, they should have it where it's not a consequence to come to them to work through these things, and then on the backside of that, right? If you knew up front, like, hey, I'm not feeling right, I'm not feeling, well, or I need to talk to somebody about something, do you think it would have prevented you from going down the rabbit hole and getting so bad if you could have cut it off at the head and not have these stupid consequences on the backside and know you'd be somewhat safe, and where am I kind of going with this? You know, where you don't have these backlashes or these consequences. You're hitting it earlier on versus guys hiding and just digging themselves deeper and deeper in a hole going, how do I even get out of this mess?
Right.
You know what I mean?
So I think it's kind of a double-edged sword there, you know, because you're going to get the guys that probably shouldn't be in a certain job because of an issue they have. Well, now you have to deal with the guys that would be perfectly okay if they could just get help, but, you know, they're having similar issues, or so it's like, you know, how do you distinguish, you know, where's that line? Because it's a very fine line. And I think it's just easier for the military to be like, this is our standard, you know, regardless which side you fall on. If you're not meeting the standard for this job, you can't do it. I think it should be more of a, and I want to say that they have gotten better at this. Instead of it being looked at as a consequence, it should be encouraged that, you know, people could come forward, and it should be that they work with you. You know, if you can't stay in that job, let's work with them instead of just completely discharging them. Let's work with them and see, okay, where can we fit you in? You know, and if discharge is the only option, make sure that they have a plan for when they're getting out.
So
that's awesome to see.
Says they now have POTF, professionals, psych docs, that they can see now without reprisal. It's getting
that is better. Awesome.
That's good, right? Like, I mean,
yeah,
dude, like how many stories have we all heard just like yours, man? You get out and, you know, you're struggling with this stuff, man, and, you know, some guys haven't been as lucky as you, right? Where, you know, they've tried to take their life and came back from it, you know, and moved forward in a positive way and things like that, man. It's pretty incredible. We got another vet in the house. It says, "Hey boys, I'm a 12-year medically retired Navy vet. Alcohol was a big part of the culture when I was active from 80 to 92. My problem was coming to terms with a sudden end of what was going to be a 20-year career." And, you know, that's breaking up with a girlfriend after 12 years.
It really is. Yeah.
You know?
I mean, you know, from the day they told me I was going to have to medically process out, it was like 2 months before I was a civilian. So it's quick.
Yeah.
I mean, it is quick, and it is like, I really don't know what to compare it to, because they just take you know, they're taking your whole identity away from you. You know, they spend all this money to, you know, break you down and build you up how they want you, and then they just completely strip it away. And that's, you know, one of the hardest things to deal with.
I can only imagine, man. I can only imagine. You know, that's like spending 12 years in a career to get just, you know, shoved out of it. Same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like military is a career, but, you know, like we touched on earlier, you know, it's a brotherhood. It's, you know, more than just a career. You know, it's a complete lifestyle. But
and I mean, and a lot of times, you know, the friends you make, you know, like for me, I was in Hawaii. There was no way I was going to see my friends again.
Sure.
You know, I was coming all the way back to Kansas. You know, I'm not going to spend $3,000 to go visit.
So, man, I would have tried retiring in Hawaii. I'm just saying.
It's expensive, dude.
Super expensive.
I know.
Yeah, it's like Alaska expensive. It's pretty bad.
I mean, you got that military experience, bro. Go build a
let me tell you, a great place to visit.
Yeah,
great place to visit, but sucks to live.
Good friend of mine I went to high school with, man, he said the same thing about Florida, and this is no offense to Florida, but he was from the Midwest. He's like, dude, I felt like I was on a vacation the whole time I lived there. I had to get out. You know?
And now, all right. The only problem with living like on an island is you do everything, and once you do everything, it's like, what do I do now?
Yeah, sure.
Drink.
Yeah, drink.
Like, I mean, really, right?
Yeah.
No, it's pretty incredible, man. And kudos to you again. Like we said, just reaching out, getting your story out there, trying to help others, and gosh, all the comments in the chat tonight, all you veterans, man, thank you so much for your service. I didn't expect as many veterans to be in the chat tonight, but it's cool to see, you know what I mean? And that brotherhood's still there, whether you guys know it or not. You guys are all here, for that reason, which is great. And Naughty Fish says, bro, a bottle of water in Hawaii was like $10. F Hawaii, and you can bring your alcohol to the beach, not like Philippines and Thailand.
Oh my gosh. Philippines.
Well, we got some stories, kicking around in there, man. Naughty Fish says paddle and fin. Love this kayak community. Absolutely. Man.
Yeah. That's
just it, man. We talked about that earlier. There's a brotherhood in the kayak fishing community, and I've seen it just recently, man. I got word last Saturday, I think it was, Mike Schmitz from Team New Canoe, a guy I've spent time with at shows and stuff, passed away. And seeing so many people from the kayak community come together to help his wife out and things like that. And it's absolutely beautiful, man. And it's like we've seen it across the board, with vets, with families in need, kids, things like that, man. It's just beautiful, man.
When I see these charity kayak events posted up on Facebook and they get 800 people that sign up, and and it's like only 100 people are going to fish it.
Sure.
And, it's like, that's amazing, because that's, that is a lot of money going to that person to help them out. And it just shows the power, that when everybody wants to come together, they do. And they always look out for each other. 100%. If somebody, it does not matter if somebody is mad at somebody, if that person needs help, they're going to put their differences aside most of the time and help them out.
100%, man. Harold said, not just a podcast, but good fellowship. This is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what it's about, brother. That's what it's about, And you're 100% right, dude. It's amazing. Like I know when I got into kayak fishing in 2018, I didn't know nothing. I didn't even know Jay.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
And Jay is like legitimately my best friend. I get the honor and the privilege to go down and stand next to this man getting married. That's what kayak fishing is.
That's awesome.
This man, shucks. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna cry a little bit, and then I'm gonna follow that up with laughter. But it's honestly, dude, like how many just unbelievable things has the kayak fishing community been a part of, and how many lives has it saved, and we can go on and on down the list, dude. It's just a beautiful thing, a beautiful place, and it's always hard to describe what the kayak fishing community is to other people that may not be a part of it or just coming into it. They got to come and experience it, and then they're like, okay, I get it now. You know what I mean? It's like trying to describe something that you can't put into words, and it definitely is a beautiful thing.
I would say like the easiest way to put it is it's our church.
Yeah, 100%, dude.
I mean, that's where
our religion. Yeah.
I mean, it's like you get out there and I mean, it's, you're bonding with nature. You're, you're taking it all in, at your own pace. Sure. You don't have to be like the best fisherman. You don't, I mean, that's not what you're there for, right? I mean, you're there to fish, but I mean, you're also there to experience it, and honestly, I mean, you're not alone, man. I mean, I've been depressed for a long time, and I know that getting out on the water helps, but like, it's also hard to get yourself there. And it's like you said, like the first thing is actually, recognizing it and doing it. Me and Brian talk a lot. I mean, a lot of this stuff goes back to other stuff, but my point being is that you know, you get out on the water and it's soothing, or
Yeah.
at least it's, you know, it's at least it's a break in the clouds, you know, for
It
you.
is.
It allows you to, you know, just be able to be in the moment, be there. You know, everything else is going to wait for you. Everything else will be there
Yeah.
when you get back, you know. So you get to take that break and just kind of, you know, just take a breather, you
That
know.
mental reset, you know.
Yeah.
Decompress, kind of reset
Yeah.
yourself, and you know, clear your mind, so that way when you do go back to those issues or problems, you know, you look at it from a different view, and you don't have as much stuff up there kind of
Yeah.
jumbling around with it.
Yep.
I think I've worked out more of my life issues on the water than I have anywhere else. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy. Naughty says, I've heard a lot of hardcore bass boaters contemplate kayaking because of the trends we are all creating, from as simple as measuring boards to our apps. Huge shift happening. Totally agree, man. You're seeing it a lot.
Yeah.
Seeing it a lot.
Yeah.
So
It's more manageable.
yeah,
It can be as complicated as you want it. You know, you could just throw a kayak in the back of the truck, take one pole, take one lure, and go hit the water for a few hours. Or you could take your 5 poles, your motor, your fish finder. You could go all nuts. You know,
yeah, right.
I mean, it whatever you feel that you're, you know, you know, where you know, you feel level about it. See, for me, and I know Brian knows this, I would much rather just go out there with one pole and the kayak, and I'll get a little stressed sometimes being at those boat ramps, having to hustle and get everything done. And you know, then you're like, then you get out in the water and you're like, oh, my sunglasses, you know, and then you got to go back. And
I've seen Jay stress out at more boat ramps than anybody I know.
Yeah.
Just like, screw this. Just go.
That's when that's when I'm complicating it. But I also know it's like, if I just go out for the experience and like just the moment, it's a lot more enjoyable.
Oh, for
you
sure.
know, when
for
there's
sure.
no expectations.
For sure.
You know, and plus, like, I mean, there's so much to explore. Like, people just don't realize there's so much water that I can guarantee there's probably only like a few people that go through some spots like every year.
Yeah.
Depending on how far you're willing to get away from civilization. You know, it's like there's a lot to explore out there. There's a lot of beauty. There's a lot of things to immerse yourself in, and just try to, you know, help your, you know, what's it called? Actually, I've actually read that recently too, like with nature and everything, being barefoot like helps. You know, I know it sounds weird, but like it plants you to the ground and just kind of, you know, just reinforces that connection. So I don't know. Sorry, it's a little whack thing on the side there, but
do you hug trees too, bro? I'm just saying.
I do when I'm climbing them to shoot a deer.
Touche.
See, look at even Naughty Fish says it, man.
Yeah,
that's what I'm telling you, dude. It's like there's all this stuff behind there. Like, we've just got too complicated in our lives. Like, we got to simplify things, and I think kayaking does that. It just simplifies what you're doing at the moment. You know, you
100%.
Yeah, just get on the water. Like, and that's the thing too. And like, and it's great that there's a lot of these veteran led groups that are out there, because it took veterans to help other veterans, because it wasn't recognized by other people about what's going on, you know. The people that should know, you know, and that's great that there's all these groups out there, you know, that are helping people. And like me and Brian have been a part, you know, quite a few of them. And it's great to be able to teach, you know, somebody, you know, like, especially like one of you guys, or, you know, first responder, just to kind of, you know, something new to put your head into.
Straight up.
You know, just to kind of cleanse everything, you know, try to take a new approach to something, you know. Again, it's simple. It's just a kayak, you know,
it's just a chunk of plastic, man.
That's all it is.
Unless you're in the apex, it's just a chunk of carbon fiber.
Yeah, a chunk of carbon fiber.
12 grand later.
There you go, EJ.
Naughty said, nerdy as you know what, but a real story. He says, I do it daily, talking about being barefoot. He says,
Yep.
I'm a hippie. I heard a great story. My guest, Nicholas Stepp, that I had on the New Canoe podcast this week, he was sharing a story. He was floating down a river and saw a young kid, 10, 12 years old, fishing from the bank, and some older kids were down there and like harassing him because he was using a hook and a worm. And like he paddled over and pulled his boat up on shore and talked to the kid, because you could tell he was like getting discouraged. And he was like, look, man, don't listen to those guys. Like, fish the way you want to fish. But here, bro, you gave him like a crankbait, some plastics, and something else. And he was like, this is how you use these, whatever. If you want to try them, great. If not, man, just throw them wherever. And he was like, I saw that kid later and he was catching fish on artificial baits and having a good old time and stuff like that. And he's like, man, it's so cool, to be able to just encourage instead of discourage, like we're at the beginning of this, when we asked you what kind of kayak you were in, and it was a Hobie. Like, how many times have we seen guys get razzed up because they're in brand X of boat? You know what I mean?
Right.
And a lot of it is just like joking around, but I've seen some new people like ask questions and like in the wrong groups or the wrong forums, and like they get attacked because they're like, yeah, I got this Pelican kayak and I'm thinking about doing this or whatever, and like guys are like, oh, that ain't a kayak, blah 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 blah, and it's just like, get the hell out of here, man. It doesn't matter what you're in,
When in reality, like all those simpler kayaks are truly kayaks.
Yeah, right.
Like what we have now is like, oh, we can call them kayaks. They might be a little something different.
Shannon said that's why Christine Fisher catches so many fish. She's always barefoot. I mean, maybe she's onto something there. That makes sense.
That sounds like I should do that all the time, man.
Yeah, right. That's the key to
I want to have that weird tan line on my feet.
Yeah, there you go.
We all do, dude. It's embedded in my foot, and I haven't had sandals on since like September,
Yeah.
But, Naughty says, I own 6 yaks and I get hammered for not having a PA, but I prefer the paddle my simple yak. I'm stubborn, LOL. But, it's, that's just it, man. That's just it. But dude, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I know we're kind of winding down. I want to give you an opportunity to kind of shout out your social medias. I know you said, the full story that you've written up, you're working on getting that published right now in a couple of different avenues. But like, plug your socials and stuff like that. I know you got some of this stuff posted on there and things like that, so people can go follow you, or maybe somebody's listening and they're looking for somebody to reach out to and talk to, and because you've experienced the same things they're going through, maybe they want to reach out and talk to you, man.
Yeah. So I am on TikTok at Real Fishing Adventures. It's REEL. And same with Instagram. And then, if you make it over to Instagram, you can definitely link up into my Facebook. And then, I am working on doing a shorter version of, this story, so it can be more accessible to other places. But both on Instagram and TikTok, it is available through the video I made, and I put the link to the Word document. You can also find it on Reddit. All you gotta do is search for the title or if you go into the kayak fishing Reddit, it's there.
Right on.
So, I'm kind of, I don't follow all the traditional social media stuff, but
no, you're good, man.
I'm trying to kind of separate myself from everybody else and, kind of try something different, so that way I can stand out a little bit more.
Right on. Well, and we talked to Jeremy earlier, and over the next week, I'm going to try to get a tab created up on the Paddle and Fin website with his story, and I'm just going to leave it up there, just because I think it's important, right? If somebody because we always get people that discover paddle and fin, and they go back and listen to episodes and stuff, I think it's an important story, especially in the community that we're in. We've heard this story a few times about, kayak fishing has saved their life and things like that. And I just want to leave it up there so that way, people can use it as a reference. I know, I told Jeremy I'm going to work on getting it published in on the Dubro fishing page as well, and a couple other things, because I think it's important, man. It's we got to take care of our vets. We got to help those that are struggling with any kind of mental illness. It's the power of healing through kayak fishing is unbelievable, man.
And I mean, a lot of times people just want somebody to talk to, and that would, that helps out more than what people would realize, just having somebody to talk to, having their feelings validated. So
100%, man. 100%. And I know all three of these guys on screen or that you've heard talking tonight, man, if you hit us up, we'd be more than willing to talk to you about anything and everything at any given point in the day or night.
Day or night.
Yeah. And I want to extend an olive branch. I mean, I'm coming out of the side here, but to anybody, any of the vets out there that maybe have other stories too on how kayak fishing helped them and everything, send them our way. Yeah. If you want them out there in public, we'll do it. We'll put them out there for you. I think that, hearing, because I've heard it from many other people too, just many walks of life, just in general, how kayak fishing has helped a lot of people. And I think some people need to see that, need to see like how a simple plastic boat can, help you to some degree deal with your day-to-day struggles.
100%, man. 100%.
Yeah, and the more and more these stories get out, I think that's very helpful, because that's going to encourage more and more people. Okay, I can get better. I can have a little bit of peace.
Yeah, he did it, so can I.
Right?
Like it's that mentality.
Yeah,
and I'll extend it even further, man. If you want to jump on the podcast and share your story, if you think it'll help somebody, email us, paddle the letter N and fin @gmail.com. Reach out on any of the social medias, my personal social media, Jay's personal social media. We'd love to have you on, man. It's an important thing, It's like I get healing from just hearing your story and talking to you, and and the many other veterans we've had on, and it makes, I shouldn't say it makes me feel like my troubles are petty. They're not, you know what I mean? Anybody's troubles, it's just in that mental struggle sometimes, like, I know you guys listen to me and Jay on this podcast every week, but we're human too. You know what I mean? Like, we've gone through some stuff. We've talked through some stuff, man. Nobody's perfect. You know what I mean? But we try to stay positive, and it's situations like this and hearing stories like this that absolutely helps us work through our struggles too,
Yeah. And I'll say that it's becoming more noticeable too. Cause I watch a TV show called SEAL Team. I don't know if you're seen it. So the last episode talks about what
very
you're talking
powerful.
about, right? You saw that last episode, right?
Yeah. They all came in and stood up with their commander or with their guy.
And they all named off like their own issues, what they've been keeping, stowed in the back of the room, so nobody knows about it, so they don't lose their status, right? And that's exactly the situation we're talking about. Yeah, it's TV, but it's bringing real stuff to light, like what we're talking about right now. So it'll be interesting when they do that new season how they're going to treat that.
100%.
But that means it's in the forefront. People are talking about it. It's getting out there. The more and more everybody puts it out there, the more and more I think they're going to treat it with more compassion and more serious, in a more serious manner, and actually not look at you guys as broken tools that need to be thrown out, but rather, hey, let's look and see what the real deal is here and see if we can, get to the root of this, because a lot of this, again, it comes from every side. this could be something that happened to you when you were a kid and just kind of built up. Who knows, man? I mean, who knows? But the point is that right now in this time, at this time, there's an issue it needs to be dealt with, and you guys need guidance. Period.
Yeah, 100%. James Burness said, "Thanks for a great show, guys. You're more than welcome, sir." Naughty said, "Jeremy, appreciate you speaking out, bro."
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you guys letting me on and being able to get this message out.
We popped that podcast cherry tonight, bro.
Absolutely.
Guys, gals, thank you so much for tuning in. If this was your first time tuning in, we're here every Thursday night, 7 Central, 8 Eastern, 5 o'clock out on the West Coast. If you guys are listening on the podcast, we appreciate you as well. It's just nice to be able to interact with you guys. Harold just dropped in the comments, "I appreciate the advice and a great show, even though I came in late." No worries, bro. Like I said, I called you out at the beginning of the show because I couldn't remember your name, and then it popped up. You popped up, and there you go, man. It happened. But that's the thing, right? We were talking about community. I met Harold at the show, started talking to me about rigging up his kayak. I'm like, bro, bring it out. Let's do it. We're gonna go fish, and it's good stuff like that, man. That's what it's all about, helping each other out, But thanks everybody for tuning in. We will see you next week. We got some cool shows in the works coming up, so stick around. Like we said, if you guys got a story or something to share, feel free to reach out, paddleandfin@gmail.com, and all that good stuff. But as always, boys and girls, until next week, tight lines, smooth paddle. Peace.